This is Upfront with me, Blessed Suga. This week, there's intensified calls coming through from a number of civil society organizations, including religious leaders who are now mounting pressure on President John Dramani Mahama to declare a state of emergency. The state of emergency, they believe, should be targeted at communities where illegal mining has gone through the roof and where government has lost control over river bodies which are now heavily polluted. Now, in some parts of the country, the Ghana Water Company Limited is indicating to us that they are unable to treat potable water for communities simply because illegal mining is raging on and it's getting to uncontrollable levels where they are unable to effectively ensure and guarantee the safety of our population there by providing treated water from some riverine communities in parts of the central and western region. But the president says the state of emergency should not be the only resort and that there's possibly some more steps and measures to be taken before using that as a tool of last resort. So here's the point. How do we ensure that we take alternative measures, if there are any, and how fast can we take them in tackling this menace of illegal mining? The EPA is one of the least spoken about agencies responsible for enforcing our environmental laws. Are they failing on their mandate by doing so? And how are they contributing to supporting the president's plan in tackling this whole menace of illegal mining? Joining me in studio now, Deputy Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Agency in charge of operations, Dr. Michael Ayamga Adongo is my guest here on Upfront. You see very potable water there on your screens, but Doc, it's not the case when you go to the central region and parts of the western region. In fact, Ghana Water Company Limited is telling us that they may have to shut some of their treatment plants. That's how scary this situation is now. But you come in because that's your constitutional or lawful mandate. Do you admit, first of all, that you're not doing as much as the EPA in tackling that?
I mean, there's nothing to admit to. We are at the forefront of this fight. The reason you think we are not working is because there is a multi-pronged approach to fighting galamsey, high-level engagement. And we all want to be part of that high-level engagement, so you don't have every agency sending task forces in and then the media is inundated with calls and talks and nothing is really happening. But I can tell you from where I sit that there is no shortage of ideas and resolve to get galamsey out of the way.
Yeah, but I guess it's not about ideas now, is it? Looking at how grave the situation is now, we need a quick fix, as some would say, towards you know, the increasing spate of pollution of our water bodies.
Yes, you see, there is no quick fix to galamsey. Let me burst that bubble that people think we can wave a magic wand and the next day our waters are clean. Now, this has been going on for a while. We're just looking at the dynamics. You know, when the galamsey happens sometimes during the dry season, you know, by September, that is the peak season, it kicks in and they start doing, you don't see it. When it rains and then you now have the runoff, then all these things get into the river bodies, you take an area picture and you, okay, galamsey has increased. But that has been lying down, incubating over the years. One of the things I don't want to go along those lines of, okay, can we do a measurement of what it was, what is this today? Because I don't take excuses, I don't give excuses.
But naturally, I don't do it. Telling us, and you're saying it, that it appears it started from way last year.
I'm saying that it's, and that's what media has been doing. When it rains and then the whole thing is now visible, that's when they think we are not working.
But when even President Mahama's responsibility to claim now that we're seeing a surge in the activities again?
No, it's not a surge. Okay. It's rather a surge in the fight against galamsey. There is a surge in the fight against galamsey in the sense that, you see, the idea of appearing to fight against galamsey and not making any meaningful strides has been the model in the past, and it has not stopped anything. Yes, you could have the soldiers' operation, cow leg operation, what, and then nothing is happening. What we are looking at is first fighting galamsey from all fronts. First, having to do with promoting the legal aspect of galamsey. The only way to fight a counterfeit is to promote the original. The only way to remove something illegal is to promote the legalization. There are people involved in illegal mining who do so because they struggle to get access to legal mining. They don't have the means. They don't even have the knowledge of how to do it. Yeah. Can we take that bit out of the block, which we have been doing, promoting access to regularization, training, and also more or less streamlining the licensing processes. There has been also the concerted efforts to centralize the response to illegal mining. So you now have the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations, the NIMOs, going on. That seems to coordinate all of the efforts. People have been calling for the repeal of LI 2462. And when we started, we more or less disarmed that law. They called, people talk. We got to a point, realized that it has to go. As I speak, plans are far advanced. Actions have been taken. Several consultations have happened. And that law, I'm sure if Parliament reconvenes, it will go. Now the goalpost has shifted, and those who are calling for the removal of that law are telling us that removing that law is not enough. In fact, I think 3 days ago, I heard the Media Coalition Against Anti-Galamsey telling us that a state of emergency alone is not even enough. And that has always been our position. If you are very honest, you will notice that we almost have a state of emergency in place. We have all the 44 hotspots of illegal mining now going to be permanently guarded by the military, not the flash out and return and they come, that cat and mouse game. No, it is going to be permanent. Those soldiers are not there to massage you. They are going there with arms and other things. So we don't need a state of emergency to tell the military that if gangs shoot at you, shoot them. So we are having the effect of a state of emergency without the bad aspects of a state of emergency. No Democrat want to curtail rights, to curtail freedom of speech, to arrest people. And it's not only galamseyers who arrest. Maybe some of your colleagues who go there may end up falling at the wrong side of military who are trained to kill. And if that happens, I'm sure I'll be here explaining why somebody got shot by the military in a galamsey. Okay, so we want to avoid all those issues.
I believe that all of these people asking for a state of emergency, a targeted one actually, is because there are gun-wielding men in our forests. So it's not as easy as possible for any individual community group to just walk in and stop illegal mining activities.
So, Blessed, I can tell you that with military patrolling and military presence, not temporarily, permanently at these 44 hotspots, we almost have a state of emergency at place. We almost have a state of emergency.
So why not do the full thing now?
Why do we have to curtail freedom of speech if we can achieve the same results with having the military there? What is it going to give us if we can get the results of a state of emergency without imposing it? If it gets to the point that we think we have to do it, we'll do it. But that incremental tightening of the hose, let me put it this way, so that we can get the best out of tightening and not avoid the negative aspects of it, it's a way to go. Nobody is saying that the state of emergency is completely off the table. We think that if we cannot achieve anything without imposing it, we'll impose it. And that is where we are all headed. There are also smart approaches that we are looking at. Right. That galamsey is no longer an issue of chasing the people out of there. It's money that is getting back in. Where do they get the money? The money is gotten from the smuggling of the gold outside the shores of this country, where the windfalls are made and then reinvested in the galamsey areas. If we cut that, we'll significantly control money flowing back into illegal mining, and we are going to succeed. We are also doing our best to ensure that the equipment, the mechanization of the either to hoe and pickaxe illegal mining that we have known over the years stops at a certain point. So there has never been a period in the history of this country that it is more difficult to import and clear an excavator than now. There's never been a period in our history that you find it more difficult to clear an excavator. And that, yes, you may think that it is too little, too late, but you will soon see that it's very difficult to get excavators. What that is going to do is that there may also be some impact on lawful construction activity But yes, we can't eat our cake and have it. We, at some point in time, have to bear with it.
Okay.
And I can tell you this will bear results.
How do you deal with the speculation? And I must be frank about it, that this laxity on the part of the president and by extension this new administration to act, because there's politics involved in this as well. You have a political price to pay.
Yes, and you see, when I came, anytime they asked me about galamsey, I just deferred to the highest level engagement. We didn't want to talk, but it got to a point people thought that, okay, by not wanting to talk, we are involved in galamsey. And galamsey cannot be won by the talking. I don't think that we have reneged in our responsibility or weakened in our resolve to end galamsey. And I find it sometimes, let me say, troubling that people think that some of us who come into government watch illegal mining go on and then just look away because some politician is doing it. The president knew very, very well that the team he was assembling are not out-and-out politicians, and it gets to a point that they will say no. My boss and I are a typical example. If it gets to that point, it doesn't matter which politician we look at. We may tell you no and pack our bags and go back to the classroom. And that's why we are on secondment. We've not resigned. And if there are people who are more willing to fight galamsey, it is us. We don't look back at all. We are resolved. And I've never had anyone who has come to tell me that, okay, we are doing this here, can you look the other way around and then let it? No, 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 no. If I have that situation, I'm going to deal with you because I have kids. And if I can't do anything at all, I want to leave them in a country that doesn't cut short their lifespan.
Dr. Abdongo, there are many watchers now wondering what it is specifically that the EPA has done. Because traditionally, if you're looking at the fight against illegal mining, there's no way EPA will be taken out of the equation. Yet, practically speaking, and correct me if I'm wrong, we haven't seen your intervention so far.
Our role, we want to educate, we want to legalize, that is, and regulate the extent to which activities are going on. So we have been the ones who are supposed to take people through their registration processes, agree with them how they want to mine, and when we get to a point where we think that what they are proposing to do meets with what we expect in terms of preserving the environment, then we give them the licenses. And when they go against these ones, we lead the fight to prosecute them. This we have been doing. In fact, as I speak now, we have engaged at so many high-level consultations. We have expanded across this country because we want to have our presence everywhere so that you can have access to the environmental protection services no matter where you are. We are talking about almost over 50 new offices that we are opening across this country. MPs have never disappointed us. They are calling in their numbers, giving us offices and other support to open. Just on Monday, my boss and I were at the Ministry of Finance to beg the Honorable Ato Forsen to allow us to buy vehicles, because without these vehicles, our new offices are barely operational. And we are hoping that we get these commitments and other things to increase our presence. Once that happens, we will be able to provide the intelligence. Sometimes this galamsey issue has to do with, yes, intelligence to the security services fighting against galamsey, and then also you going in there and stopping the galamsey in such a way that you have enough evidence to prosecute. If you go in there and you just arrest somebody, you will get to court, they are going to ask you to provide certain pieces of evidence that are in line with the laws that are regulating galamsey. If somebody is not technical enough to gather those pieces of evidence, we arrest people and they walk. And that is where the EPA come in, and we are not reneging in that responsibility.
Okay. Looks like, at the top, the executive intervention into this whole fight against illegal mining is part of the challenge why traditional institutions such as yours, the EPA, are not able to deal with this head-on. Do you agree? Because now everyone wants to have some sort of control over the fight, isn't it? Because everyone is receiving criticism and everyone wants to act. How are you finding your feet in this as EPA? Are you feeling the weight of the executive pressure and the fact that that's sometimes clouding the judgment clouding the approach towards tackling illegal mining in this country?
As I said, we don't feel any pressure at all. We are playing our role as far as this multi-agency task force is concerned. Everybody has a role to play in there. What we want to avoid is everybody leading his task force like in the past, and you arrest them, this take, and the thing is still going on. That is what we don't want to have. The more task forces you have, the more confusion you get. And people try to make the mistake that, okay, if we don't act, illegal mining operators will become gangs. They were already gangs long ago. And what we want to do is, of course, to also stem the flow of manpower into illegal mining. And that has to do with the promotion of alternatives. If we don't promote alternatives, we can't cover this whole country with military. And the unfortunate thing, or should I say, it's a blessing in disguise, that also comes with that pain. We are covered with gold all over the place. You look at the data, and virtually everywhere you go in Ghana, we have resources that can be mined. So if you station soldiers here, there will be soldiers going anywhere. If they say targeted state of emergency, it will soon be all over this country. That is one thing that people don't realize. So we need that smart approach to it, along with community support, which is unfortunately slipping. That you now have the communities engaging in illegal mining and more or less inviting some of these people to come and mine. One silver lining, a very happy moment I had did for yesterday. I called my body Kweku and we're talking, and the issue of Domahini came in. So I asked, Kweku, how is Nana doing? He said, Nana is back in the village leading the charge against galamsey and driving out people by himself. And I felt if our chiefs and traditional leaders took this approach with little state intervention, we'll flush galamsey out. But when we are putting up efforts and they are providing cover for illegal miners to hide, they see now galamsey as an alternative use to land, whether to farm or to mine. And they, unfortunately, the decision is always in favor to mine. It's sad. So we need to also begin to engage the communities and engage traditional leaders to let them know that they have a responsibility to protect the land. One more thing I want to add is that, you see, historically, the way we have negotiated mining deals have not been inclusive enough, and communities increasingly feel let out. If you go to Obosi today, you won't believe that this is the place that has let out billions and billions of dollars in terms of gold. So the communities also increasingly get to realize that, no, if I can take it illegally, why should I wait for you to get a 2-3% royalty? Some few trees are planted somewhere, that is reclamation. There's some PR that it is a corporate social responsibility, and they are gone. So we have to get to a point where we let a significant proportion of the resources that are being mined stay in the community. If the communities see the gold under them as their heritage and part of their wealth, they will protect it. And eventually, we won't even have to go and police the gold because the communities will defend it.
We started off the conversation by talking about the state of our river bodies. We haven't explored that much, so let's get into it. Do you have a projection at EPA as to how long this would take us to reclaim, and if not reclaim, but to purify once more our river bodies?
Yes, increasingly we get offers, we get ideas as how to purify our water bodies. Yeah. We have a sample of some additives, and we can put in some of the river bodies to clean the mercury and other things that people are using. So those alternatives are being explored.
This is a proposal for some from some organizations.
Yeah, that's a proposal.
Already.
If you enter, I think now it's in our boardroom. My boss showed it to me sometime. We have a sample, and it's actually it appears to be working. So it's exciting. I think the president also mentioned it some time ago. So those alternatives are also there. We also want to definitely invest significant proportions of the resources we get from mining in afforestation, or let me call it re-afforestation, to reclaim those parts. You see, most of the pictures we see now is some portion of new galamsey plus what has been existing. You take a picture and it looks like, okay, the whole country is now covered, especially when it rains. So, and you can't plant a tree in a day. Yeah. That's going to take some time. So regardless of how painful it is, once we pull down the trees and everything and mine, it's going to take us time to grow the trees back. But we are not giving up in that resolve. So the idea of purifying the water is there. Also, afforesting or encouraging some regrowth in the areas that have been degraded is also happening. So if you, I don't want to give you time, but I believe that the area that has been degraded will definitely make some effort to reclaim it. But what we have to do now is to stop the tide so that we don't eventually have to reclaim the whole country, which is an impossibility.
Government has outlawed NIMOS, which is supposed to be coordinating the response against illegal mining. Where do you come in all of this? Or is this simply a ministerial activity where EPA is not part of the mix?
You see, the EPA is part of a collection of agencies involved in environmental protection. Yeah. And also, it cross-cuts with those agencies responsible for regulating the extractive industry, be it the Minerals Commission, even from petroleum and all those things. So when we are creating a task force, we all bring in our expertise in there, and we create a unified task force that can deliver both the regulatory bits of fighting against galamsey and also supporting the security agencies to bring the culprits to book. So we are in there, of course, helping to provide education in our effort to promote the regularization of some small-scale miners who want to actually mine, who lack the know-how, who don't even know that, okay, we need to regulate, look at what methods they are going to use, and where we find those methods wanting, we suggest what they can do to, we do that for the large-scale mines. So we want to do that. We are playing this role within the agencies. And we also of course, there are some laws through which that, with which we can prosecute anyone who commit infractions in mining. And so we also have our experts in the providing these services. We don't want to see a situation where you have us in our EPA reflectors and then go and they say this is EPA task force, the next moment this is from Minerals Commission. No, I don't think that is the way to go. We need to coordinate our efforts.
Okay. We seem to be fixated on the small-scale mining sector when we talk about infractions on, environmental protection. And some would even argue that galamsey is becoming the veil to for many large-scale companies to even go scot-free with some of the infractions and the disregard for environmental protection. Are you equally paying attention to what's happening in the large-scale sector? And do you also have that feeling that because of this whole talk about illegal mining at the small-scale level, we seem to be letting go of the spot on the large-scale mining companies as well? Because some of them are involved in many forms of mining.
Yes, and some of them are involved in pushing the misinformation that we have about small-scale miners and also galamsey because they tend to benefit from it. I don't want to say it, but there are some big mining entities that actually hide and buy gold from galamsey operators, and that is helping them beat the system. And of course, this information has come to the light and people are onto them. So those involved in this kind of activity soon will be caught. Yes, they also commit large infractions, and quite soon we'll be dealing with a few of them.
I'm interested in a story of some of them buying the small-scale sector gold. Is this something you're watching closely? How are you tracking down that activity? And are you going to be naming and shaming some of the organizations soon?
Of course, it's not a matter of naming and shaming. This is a crime. If you are asked to mine gold and declare, and you hide and then buy it from people who process gold illegally, you are wrong, and you will be punished. This information is being picked by some of our young people we send to look at what's happening, and they are giving us this information, and it's worrying. There are also instances where some have licenses to do legal mining. They're actually there doing legal mining, but they also realize that, okay, on the riverbed is cheap gold. You can easily with one scoop go or something. So when people are not watching, they also go in there and do things and then blame it on illegal miners and so on. So we are also aware of these things, and we are policing them. As we say, this is now an intelligence level operation, no longer the soldiers sing Jama into the bush and go and shoot. No, no, no. It's become a highly intellectual process, and we are resolving to that. We resolving to the use of technology, including satellites and drones and all those things to gather this information. And I can tell you, it's a matter of time, but we will win this fight.
Let's deal with climate change, because it's part of the remit for which you operate at EPA. Ghana has its own nationally determined contributions. Are we faring that well, knowing that, well, illegal mining appears to be derailing almost all of the efforts that we've subscribed to?
Yes, I think one of the problems with climate change is that we seem to, over the years, have been doing well with the ideas of promoting mitigation and so on. But we seem to be behind when it comes to adaptation and building resilience. And some of the smallholder farmers who are at the receiving end of climate change, our ideas and our policies have not targeted them enough to build resilience. And if you look at the agenda on agriculture, it places at the core building resilience, especially at the smallholder level, promoting the use of technology, and also support for agricultural production. So if we are able to make significant strides as far as adaptation is concerned and building resilience at a smallholder level, we'll significantly say we are on track to achieve our goals as far as climate change is concerned. But yes, you cannot be talking about your nationally determined goals if you have to be dealing with galamsey and other infractions. So yes, it has watered down that discourse, but it is not completely forgotten.
Yeah. Alternative livelihoods and other activities of the EPA is what I want us to focus on next. But we're taking a short break here. When we get back, we'll put all of those questions to Dr. Adongo and find out more on what the EPA plans to do going forward. Please stay with us. So the EPA is giving assurances that they will continue the fight against illegal mining. But we are now establishing from Dr. Adongo that this is a multifaceted approach, right? So that's easy about alternative livelihoods and how EPA plans to deal with that. Let's get into it, Doc, at the point about providing the jobs, because if you don't give them the jobs, they are not going to stop that. It's almost as if we're pampering them, if I should use that word, in terms of trying to get people out of the mines, but when indeed they are engaged in illegal activities. Should we be always, taking that approach of securing alternative livelihoods for these individuals? It's a crime, by the way.
No, we are not pampering them. Nobody who is alive has not won the battle against survivor, or the battle for survival, as you say. So if they have to survive doing illegal mining, they will do it. Back in, I think, around 2013, 14, they were working in the Western region on mining. And the idea was to see whether we could provide some retooling for people engaged in mining so that eventually the resources get exhausted. What would they do? So those were the questions we were asking. And we realized that many of the young boys in that area didn't even know how to farm. And for the first time, I was shocked that a Ghanaian doesn't know how to farm, because farming was more or less a part of our upbringing. But those in the mining area...
They were not interested in mining.
Yes,
interested in farming.
They've grown up and they've been mining. So what happens in mining communities is that you tend to lose out on the skills development, and that bit of a human capacity deficits we have will make it very difficult for us to turn their minds away from illegal mining. Yeah. So the idea of providing alternative livelihood has to do with first training, and then second, the bit of capacitation in terms of can we do some business development training for them? Can we do some hand-holding and ensure that at least they get access to startups and other things to do small businesses? If they want to go into agriculture, can we provide some initial support for them? It's not pampering them. It's to get them to leave the environment at least safe for us and posterity. I think it's a small price to pay if that is what we have to do to get them off the mines. One thing you need to know is that galamsey is also thriving on cheap labor. And the labor is cheap because the opportunity cost of not working in the galamsey pit is almost zero. And that is the problem. The people who continuously go in there as far as the alternatives is nothing. So providing alternatives then puts somebody to a point where he can ask, okay, if I go into a galamsey pit, I could be shot, I could lose my life, but then I could then go into farming, go into poultry and the rest. And that is why many are excited about the president's agenda on agriculture and on poultry. I know people are making fun of us, they say, but these are the small things you can do to give somebody the choice of going into the galamsey, face all the dangers, or go into agriculture. And that is where the alternative livelihoods approach comes in there, that give the people a choice between doing illegal mining.
Okay, I want us to deal with some more activities at EPA before we go, so that will be the next phase of our conversation. Let's do that now. And you're not just dealing with illegal mining, but anything environmental protection in this country. In fact, the law allows you to coordinate and move with the implementation leg of environmental protection in this country. How far have you gone with that, and what do you plan to do next, knowing that you have a wide scope to deal with, both with businesses and even state institutions?
Yes, one of the things I've realized is that generally we have a non-compliance posture in this country, and the worst culprits are state institutions, hospitals in particular, government businesses and on. You go in there, I'm not even sure if I check here, I'll find your permit. And as we speak, our compliance team is in Gan West. They just started this week. We're there for the month. And we are launching a nationwide compliance and enforcement. And we'll enter everywhere. We will enter everywhere. And if you don't come for those permits, we will close it.
It appears your certification process is being taken for granted now. Is it that people are not aware, or they simply do not care about certification?
I will admit that for most of the time, people are not aware. There are places you go and you tell them, and then they pay. It becomes extremely difficult that we are not used to going the extra mile to acquire the right licenses and permits. So it's part of our psyche. So others need to be forced, others need to be informed and educated, and then they do it. And there are others that are just not interested or will use whatever power and connection they have not to comply. And they are the ones we are going after. And I can say, for example, what shocks me sometimes is hospitals not complying. Sometimes it may just take that we may give you some little advice. I may want to see maybe a waste segregation being in here. Look at maybe your drainage and other things, and then you could be permitted. It doesn't mean that it's a very complicated process that you cannot...
but for instance, with the issue of the hospitals, what are the commonly found infractions that you're concerned about?
They just don't take it. Many of them don't take permits, and they know you don't want to close them down because they are looking after people.
So hospitals are just springing up all over the place?
Springing up everywhere, and sometimes, strangely, the private hospitals do get permits, the government hospitals don't. I was joking with my other colleague, and he asked me that, Prof, are you going to send a compliance team to Jubilee House? I said, I wish I had the nerve to do that, but I'm thinking about it. But just to say it's all over the place. And we want to do that. We want to do that. Sometimes.
So by law, before a hospital springs up, they ought to come.
Sometimes they will come for a construction permit, but they won't come for a permit to operate, which is also a problem. So we want to do all that. Yeah. You know, in other jurisdictions, you don't mess with the EPA. Here, most people treat us as an afterthought, and it's even foreign entities that take the EPA seriously. Locally, they won't even mind you. They think you are just trying to be overburdened and overreaching. So we want to change that notion that if we get people to comply with environmental prescriptions, we in a long way will improve health and sanitation and all those things. You can imagine some mortuaries that have a lot of waste, and at funeral homes, a lot of waste don't come for compliance. And we can't tell for certain where they leave their waste and other things. So we are going to go seriously out on them and to ensure that they do the right thing.
Right. Doc, any final words to the people of Ghana, especially those who should be on the lookout for your new operation that you'll be launching?
Yeah, I think that we are coming in as people seeking to do Ghana and do the public good. We are not coming to destroy and hamper businesses. So when we come around, let's work together and promote collective good here. I also want to tell Ghanaians that I'm not president to put my presidency on the line, but I can say that given what I have seen, we'll bring galamsey under wraps.
Yeah. Certainly, that's where we want to get to. Grateful to Dr. Adongo for joining us here on UpFront. I am Blessed Suga. We'll see you again. Until then, log on to myjoyonline.com. So much more stories there for you to catch up on. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.